What's up, everyone? All right, well, today is a disaster. I'm finishing with the biggest loss of the year today. There's nothing fun about that. I'm super frustrated. I'm upset with myself. I feel deflated. It's such a kick in the teeth. It's terrible. It's everything you would imagine. Traders out there, you know how it feels. You know how terrible these losses are. And they can happen so quick. You know, I was having a good day, and then just in one trade went from up 6,000 to down 36 grand in one trade. So bad. So we're gonna break it down in the recap. You know, as I always do, this will get added to the playlist of worst FOMO, biggest loss, worst hits. You know, it's just, I got stubborn. I got stubborn and I didn't want to let it go. I thought I had the right idea and I didn't. You know, it was a fine idea, but I was wrong and I took way too much risk. I did not manage the trade well. I'm paying the price for it. So I do these recaps and put them out there in hopes that for some of you who are beginner traders, that you can learn from some of the mistakes I've made. You will make mistakes on your own. You have to make mistakes, I think, in some ways to really learn some of these lessons. But I hope this helps you gain some awareness of some of the traps in the market, because there's real traps and they can get you real bad. And I got nailed today. I got just on the wrong side of a trade. I got into the emotional trap of thinking I had the right idea while something just went the exact wrong direction. And it's just the way it goes. So I'll break it down in the recap. Those of you who are traders who know how difficult these red days are, always appreciate you guys hitting the thumbs up, because these are difficult days to recap. You know, just like, it's just not fun. It's not fun, and it's gonna take some time to kind of mentally recover from taking such a big loss. I lost, such a big chunk today that tomorrow, how can I not be coming in still sort of with this hanging over me? So it screws up not just today, but tomorrow, the next day. And, as hard as I might try to be like, no, I'm fine, I'm good. No, I'm not. It's gonna take till next week at least for me to just sort of be able to brush this off. 2 weeks from now, 3 weeks from now, most likely, it'll be totally water under the bridge, and you might be like, what was your worst day of the year? And I'll be like, I don't know. Maybe I'll remember this one longer. I don't know. But they seem, if I think back right now to what was my worst day before today, I don't even remember. So that just tells me that day is water under the bridge, and this day will be too. So what I do now is important. I need to go through the process of reviewing the trade, where I made mistakes, learn from the mistake, and then put it behind me, water under the bridge, and move forward. Because being a trader means being resilient. You get kicked in the teeth every 4 to 6 weeks, and then you got to get back up. You've got no choice if you want to keep trading. I'll say it again, as always, trading is risky. In one trade today, I went from, a small green day, $6,000, to biggest loss of the year. Just like that. Devastating. So trading is risky. My results, both red and green, are not typical. Most beginner traders do lose money. We don't track the typical result of traders in our community, so we can't make any guarantee that you're any more or less likely to succeed or lose money than the average trader out there. So take it slow. Trade in a simulator before you put real money on the line, and study up. Study. I hope you enjoyed this recap. Please hit the thumbs up. I'll see you. Hopefully it'll be a while before the next big red day recap, but I'm sure I'll be back for another one before too long. So that'll be next in the playlist after this one, and I'll be back tomorrow for the morning show and hopeful for some better opportunities ahead. All right, enjoy the recap. I'll see you first thing tomorrow morning. All right, so I'm gonna go over my trades today. Today was a bit of a disaster. I think I capitulated. I think I probably sold this thing at the bottom. This thing's gonna bounce to like 10 bucks, and I'm the schmuck down 40,000 on it. So what happened? Well, I'm on my fourth tea bag today. If you can see here, I'm not in the zone. I don't feel very well. I shouldn't have even been trading in the afternoon. I was sitting here doing some other work, and I saw JCSE sell off, and you know, this thing had squeezed from $9 all the way up to $19. So you know, I mean, I traded it during that run up and made a little money on it, only about $1,000. Then it starts to sell off here, and I was like, okay, I'm going to try to do a double bottom. So when I started looking at it, it was halted down right here at was it 8? No, it was halted down right here at around, I don't know, what was it? Halt down was 8.99, and it was showing a resumption around 9, and I was like, okay, that looks good. So I jumped in it on resumption, and it goes to 9.25. It pops up to 9.77, and I added. I was like, okay, here we go. We're going to get a halt up. We're turning around. So I added 5,000 shares, and then it drops to 8.26, and it looked like it was going to false halt. So I added another 5,000 shares at 8.26. It ends up doing a real halt. It resumes and pops to 9. Then it sells off down here to 7.45, and I was like, so I'm going to add another 5,000 shares. I think it's going to bounce. I think it's going to bounce. This thing just went from 16 down to $7. I think it's going to bounce. Now the problem is it did break through the low of 8.78. This was the double bottom I was trying to kind of time a bounce off of. But of course the problem was immediately I was caught in a halt down, right? So I didn't have a lot of time. All of a sudden it was halting down, and I was like, oh shoot, you know, okay, I'm gonna add a little bit, brings my average down. It was thinning out as it was about to halt. It was like stacked, and then it started to thin out. So I was like, oh, I think it's gonna false halt, but then it was a real halt. It opened a little higher, but then sold off again, and I held into a second halt down. The second halt was at 7.18, and I was like, this is not good. On resumption, I added again, and then that's when it dropped to 6. Right here, it curled, and I waited. It curled up to, was it right here? Where was it? Let's see. On the 10-second chart, it started to curl right around here. And I was like, yeah, it was right around here. I was like, okay, let's see, but it's got to go. And then, you know, right here, I was like, all right, whatever, that's it. I got thrown in the towel, and I lost $41,000. That right there is possibly my biggest loss of the year. Let's see. We'll check it. Yep, biggest loss of the year right there. So previous biggest loss of the year was 37,000. So that's it. I just set a new record. Congratulations, you piece of shit. Whatever, it's fine. I mean, it's not the record I wanted to set today, but you know, that's just the way it goes. So if I hadn't cut it, I'd be down 55,000 right now into a halt down. You know, just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. You got to draw the line. I capitulated. Capitulating is when you just throw in the towel. But if this had squeezed there back up to 750 and 8, I would have been livid.
for having the right idea, but just clearly the wrong timing and having capitulated right before the bounce. But it's halted again going down. It is just continuing to drop. Now, I've had a few really good trades on these types of reversals, and actually, you know, and I suppose it's worth putting things in context. I was sitting at 124,000 on the month of April before today. So this is going to cost me about a quarter of the month in one day. I'll be at 90,000 on the month, 88,000 tomorrow. 2 days from the end of the month, you know, just feels like a real screw up, and it is. And this is part of, you know, part of trading is you have periods where you know, do really well. You have periods where you're getting aggressive, scaling up, taking some risk, and then you get a haircut. And there's no trader who's ever going to trade without getting a haircut. And today it was my time for a haircut. But that's not to say that it wasn't avoidable, because it was for a couple reasons. Number one, it's not even like I had FOMO. I mean, I was up $6,000 on the day before I took this trade. So it's not like I even was like, oh, I need to have like some much better day. Like, I was having a fine day. I just really thought this was a very straightforward setup. Based on the bounce from earlier that was so epic, I just thought, we'll probably double bottom here. Look, it just went from 16 down to 8. I thought it was a good entry. And the problem was in, you know, 20 seconds, it went from being a halt up at 977 to halted down. And immediately I got stubborn. And so in that, that's where I don't even know if I could have cut it there, but I could have cut it on resumption for a loss of $2,000-$3,000, right? And instead I turned it into a loss, you know, 20 times that size by getting stubborn, by thinking I had the right idea. And sometimes, and you might have the right idea, but if you're too early, you know, you're too early. Whether you're going to try to short something that's strong or buy something that's weak, if you're too early and you don't have room to keep adding and you can't take an infinite position, you might get blown out. And today I got blown out. This is down 75% here from 16 to 5. I still would like to think that this will put in a bounce, but it's not bouncing. So, and I can't go back for it now. I'm below my max loss. I'm cut off for the day. I just can't do it. So I'm very disappointed in myself. Completely disappointed. Because this day is not a good day. And this loss was an unnecessary loss, both in the size and just the loss period. So it's very disappointing. Anytime you have a trade that you feel like you didn't do a good job following and managing your risk, you're going to be disappointed. That disappointment is what's going to, I hope, motivate you to try to do better. I say that to myself. I can guarantee you tomorrow I'll be trading more cautiously and I'm going to be a bit more timid. I certainly didn't max out on this by any means. I've got a lot of money in my account. I didn't max my buying power. I didn't take 100,000 shares. I mean, I could have easily let this really turn into the worst. I could let, you know, you could let something like this turn into the worst day of your career. I could add 50,000 shares right here, and maybe it bounces $1 a share, or maybe it drops another 2 points and you're down 200 grand, 300 grand, 400 grand, 500 grand, $1 million. You wouldn't think it could happen in a day, but it can. If you can't maintain your composure and you get caught on the wrong side of something and you get stubborn, the loss can get really, really big. So this is a big loss for me. This is the biggest loss of the year. It's a really big loss, and it's a good recap to have, just to, you know, put it out there of how this can happen, how quickly this can happen. From in a span of I mean, I'm so annoyed. I had other things to be doing. I was in the middle of another project, and then I take this quick little side trade, and now it's derailed my entire afternoon. You know, losing that much in that short a window, I just totally derailed me. And so I probably in hindsight should have just shut down all my charts and walked away completely. I did have a little afternoon trade on ACON, you know, on this one, or I guess this was late morning, but we did get, you know, I got a little trade on that, you know, $2,000. I was up $4,000, but gave back half of it. I had a trade on TNON where I lost 1,600. So I was sitting at 6,700 on the day before taking this just terrible loss. So what do you do now? You know, you take a big loss, whatever it is. In this case, I gave back about a quarter of my month in one day, almost a third. So, you know, almost a third of my month in one day gone. Could be a third of your year in one day gone. It could be you gave back the whole month in one day. You know, whatever it is, once it's done, it's done. What can you do? It's water under the bridge. You got to just let it go. Yes, analyze it, spend some time looking at where you made the mistake and what could you do to avoid this. There's two things I could do pretty easily to avoid this. Yeah, I mean, one would be not trading in the afternoon, because, you know, I just generally find that I don't do as well in the afternoon. So not trading in the afternoon, that would be one thing I could do for sure. I haven't looked, well, we can, I don't know. I don't really feel like pulling all my metrics right now. I don't really care. I was gonna say I could look at my metrics on the month, but I don't really care, whatever. So wherever I'm at on the month, in terms of accurate, maybe I have made some money in the afternoon. I don't know. I don't really know if I'm net positive or negative from afternoon trading so far this month, but that would be one thing. I mean, another would be, you know, being careful trying to catch a reversal. This was a reversal. It was a double bottom. It wasn't exactly catching a falling knife because it wasn't still selling off when I bought it. I did wait for it to resume and show green, but then it reversed again so quickly. So that it didn't give me a lot of time. So yes, be careful catching falling knives. Yes, be careful trying to time reversals. I mean, reversal trading, on the one hand, is more difficult. On the other hand, I used to prefer reversal trading in a way because, I mean, it's so obvious when you finally get that green candle. Like, this is so obvious right there. You've got a doji at the bottom, then it goes green. It goes from 10 all the way to 20 bucks, right? So when you finally get a green candle on this, you would like to think that you could have a pretty epic bounce. This thing's down 73% on the day. It's down 50% from where I tried to do the bottom bounce, but or the double bottom, but at the same time, it's still selling off. You know, and this is where it's a problem, because the more it sells off, the more you start to think it's a good reversal. It's only more extended. But I mean, well, we had this epic bounce right here. You know, if you look at this one, from 878 all the way up to 20. And what was that other Chinese stock that we had? It was, I can't remember now. H something, HUDI. HUDI was another one, and I don't remember when this was. This was might have been a little while ago. You know, but this one, right here on this day, was it this day here? You know, I mean, this thing, similar, right? From 9 all the way back up to 26. So we have had a couple. I was just, on this one, I was just early. And I took too much size. And then instead of cutting my loss like a disciplined trader should, I gave you know, I added to the position. I averaged down. And this is one of the things with averaging down that, you know, you might have, you know, a handful of trades where it ends up working. You average down, you know, you weren't right on your timing, but you average down. It ends up bouncing because you generally have the right idea, and it ends up working out. And averaging down gave you a better average, and it worked. And it works and works and works until it doesn't. And this is a good example of how it works and works and works until it doesn't. And today I just, you know, really blew it. And I'm bent out of shape and you know, disappointed in myself for losing 36,000 in one day. It may even be my worst day of the year. I don't know. I don't really remember, which is good. I mean, I don't remember because I don't spend a whole lot of time thinking about it, you know, beyond, you know, once I catch the loss, then it is what it is, right? So there was 38,000 in the red there in January. So, yeah, you know, so it's not my worst day. I've had some other bad days. I haven't imported anything for April yet. So, you know, and also cumulatively, for what it's worth, this is only my third red day of the month. So, you know, you add up all these red days, you know, I'm probably going to have more red day losses in March than I did in April, but in April, you know, I have it in 3 days. So it kind of, it's a little stacked up, but, you know, most likely by next week, I won't even be thinking about it. So one of the things I don't do in my account, I don't have my, like right here, I don't show my equity. I don't show how much money I have in the account. Because if I do that, I'm going to see that's how much, I'm going to know when I logged in today, I had X amount of money, right? And then tomorrow when I log in, I'm going to be very aware of the fact that I have quite a bit less. So I don't look at how much money's in the account. Today was the first day I looked at where I sat on the month, which I really did only to try to make myself feel a little bit better. Which is, I think that that's an okay technique, because sometimes, you know, you step back and you look at the big picture, you know, whatever it is. Okay. You know, you look at the big picture and it helps create context, because one of the reasons that people can get really miserable and bent out of shape is because they lack context. Right, they don't have perspective. You know, it's like, you know, like, I don't know, me yelling at a waitress for bringing me Pepsi instead of Coke or something. Like, it's like, you know, people have it a lot worse in this world. Like, you know, let's get real. Life is good. If your biggest problem is Coke or Pepsi, life is good. You know, if your biggest problem is off of $4.6 million, you gave back 36,000 in one day where you got a little stubborn and whatever, give it a rest. You're fine. So it's important to be able to put it in perspective. It's easier said when you're in the situation that I'm in, where I have this perspective, because of course my results are not typical. So if I was not sitting in the perspective of being able to look back on a green month or something like that, if I was in the situation where I was, you know, deeply red, so you've got a little doji there, the high was 59. I would think that you could bounce in this area, but I'm not going to take it. So if you're not in the perspective, if you're not in the situation where you can look back and say, well, I've done all this, I'm a good trader, you know, so okay, I took a good size loss, but that's whatever, that's life, I can recover. If you're in the situation where you're like, this was just another of a long line of losses, then I think the thing there, that's when you're getting into the place of needing to, and this is finally bottoming and looking a little green, but you already see a seller at 450. So who's selling there at 450, right? Your halt up is 61, but you've got a seller there at 450. I hope it bounces for those of you who are taking the trade, but I don't even want to look at it. And in any case, if I was still holding now from, what was my average? 864, 860 with 16,000 shares, I'd be down $4 a share. I'd be down 60,000 bucks still. So whatever. But yeah, if you're in the position where you've had a lot of losses and this is just another in a long line of losses, then I think that's where you have to be looking at your metrics really closely and figuring out, why does this keep happening? What am I doing wrong? Is there a pattern in my losses? Is there a pattern in my successes? You know, I'm a big advocate of leaning into your successes. What are you doing right? What are you doing well? And, you know, double down on that. Be more aggressive on that. Find that thing you're doing well and be aggressive on it. So maybe it's trading between 9 and 10 a.m. or maybe it's trading between 8 and 9 a.m. Maybe it's a time of day, maybe it's a price of stock, but that's what you've got to be really aggressive on. And I know statistically I haven't done as well trading later in the day. Why? Well, you know, if I've been up since 6 a.m., I'm better in the morning. I'm a morning person. So in the morning, that's when I'm sharp. That's when I do the best. And this time of day, I'm a little tired. I already was a little tired coming in today. Been drinking a lot of tea, which means I've had my caffeine. I'm not really supposed to trade when I have caffeine because I can get more aggressive. I try not to do it, but I've been doing it a little bit the last week because I've just seen afternoon opportunities. But, you know, in net, I don't think that I've probably made a lot on them because I had that $12,000 loss during Power Hour last week as well. So, you know, I think the thing for me is to be a little bit more disciplined. I've gotten a little sloppy with trading in the afternoon, a little sloppy with trading after having caffeine, which I know makes me a little too aggressive. Again, in this market, this is not the time to be aggressive. So I've been getting sloppy. And this is the market saying, hey, wake up, slow down. And so I've got to take that cue real quick, because otherwise tomorrow I can come in and lose another 36,000. And then my month is really a disaster. I went from having a best month of the year to, you know, having a month that's a real setback. So it's 3:30. You're finally getting a bounce here. I could easily see it bouncing up to 556, maybe higher. But, you know, I capitulated, I blew out, and I gotta shut it down. So I'm gonna shut it down, save here. I'm gonna shut down my trading, close here, and I'm walking away with my tail between my legs today. I didn't do well. If I trade like this every day, I'd be broke. So days like this have to be a wake-up call to tighten up risk, to be smarter, because this is not okay. Later tonight. So yeah, anyways, that's it for me. You know, this will go in the archive of worst losses, you know, biggest kind of FOMO setbacks. Got stubborn today and cost me 40 grand. 45, well, I was up 6,000, cost me $42,000. So that's the price for getting sloppy. That's the price right there. That's a big price. Those that haven't checked out the worst loss of my career, I'll put the link to that video up in the top corner. That was a day I lost $275,000 in one day. And you know what? Today feels just as bad. It always feels bad to lose. Doesn't matter whether you're losing 200,000, 100, 50, 5. Losing sucks. Doesn't feel good. But getting kicked in the face is part of being a trader, and you're either going to get resilient or you're going to walk away. And you'll find out eventually which one you're going to be. I keep coming back, and you know, every 6 weeks, every couple months, I'll get kicked in the teeth again, and then I'll keep coming back. And in between those kicks, I seem to make some progress. So I keep trying to make a little money between setbacks. And that's really the only difference between where I'm at now and where I was at years and years ago. Years and years ago, I would, you know, make a little money. I might make, you know, $5,000 in a month, and then in one day I'd give it all back. Devastated. Then I would do it again, make another $5,000 in a month, and then give it all back. Another 5,000 and give it all back. So I'll show you. Let's see. Let's see if this camera comes on. So, you know, it was for me, you know, whatever, 4 or 5, you know, green days or weeks, and then this was, you know, me learning how to trade. And this was when I was starting to get it. I was starting to get it because these were not just lucky days. You know, these were weeks of consistency. Weeks of consistency, of consistency. And then this is today. A day like today. Right? You give back. I mean, today, let's see, what was I up? I think I was up 11,000 yesterday. I was up 8,000 or so on Monday. So I just gave back the whole week of profit, for sure, and a little bit of last week's. But it's better than stair-stepping down. So if you're going sideways, right, this is a big deal. And the only difference between going sideways there and what I'm doing now is that now, let's see, I make just a little bit more in between these stupid losses. They still happen. You know, I mean, that's what it's like now. I still have these days, whether it's once every, you know, this is the worst one since January. So, you know, this last one was in January, made some good progress, and then another one here. I'll make some good progress out of this, no doubt. You know, a couple really good days. I might have a day where I make $50,000 or $75,000. You know, we'll make it back. And then sure enough, you know, come June or July, I'll have another day like this where I kind of forget what happened here. I got a little complacent and, you know, like an idiot, lose $40,000 trying to time a bottom bounce, or, you know, doing a halt resumption on something that's already halted up like 3 times in a row. And then I remember, wow, okay, I got to tighten things up. I got to slow down a little bit. And I will, you know, and I'll do well for a little while, and then it'll happen again. And that's just the way it's always been for me. So the only difference now is that I just, those big red days are a little bit more spaced out than they used to be. And I make a little bit more on sort of the, you know, the move up before the next loss. And that's it. You know, it's, so if you're in a place where you're taking 3 steps forward and then 1 step back, 3 steps forward, 1 step back, I think that is actually progress. I think it's a lot of progress. You know, if you're in that kind of phase, you're doing something right in those stretches where you're making money. But it's these days, you know, where all of a sudden you make a mistake and you kick yourself forward. And the trick is now tomorrow, not carrying today's loss into the morning. Right? Tomorrow morning, that's when I need to really be careful not to have, you know, a second red day. I'm not going to be able to make back 36,000 tomorrow. Not likely, not in this market. So, and when I had that $275,000 loss, I knew I wasn't going to make that back in the next day. So the loss was so big, I was like, I have no choice but to start rebuilding one small step at a time. So if I could have a small green day tomorrow and a small green day Friday, that would be fine. If I have a small red day tomorrow or Friday, that would be okay too. I prefer green, of course, but I don't want to have another big red day. So tomorrow I have to be a little more defensive. I have to be a little bit more careful. If I don't see something good, it may be better to have a no trade day than to risk a second red day in a row. So anyways, that's it. Again, I'll put the link top corner for my $275,000 loss for those that want to check it out. As always, my results are not typical. Even in this loss, it's in the context of being a successful trader. And so my results are not typical. We don't track the typical result of traders using our software or who are in our community. So we can't make any guarantee that you're going to be more or less likely to be a profitable trader than the average traders out there. Trading is risky. And today, you know, in a heartbeat, I ruined my day. I mean, I'm going to be disappointed for the rest of the day. There's no way around it. I screwed up. I feel like an idiot. So I'm going to beat myself up a little bit. That's the punishment, you know, for having some bad trades. That's on me. That's my own fault. And tomorrow I'll come in, and tomorrow's a new day. So I'll be back at it tomorrow. Check out that video on the $275,000 loss. I'll see you guys tomorrow.